Everyone. Welcome to our last webinar of this World to One Park member marathon. We're so happy to be here with you, and we're excited for you to see the webinar that we have prepared for you and also for your organization, your city, and you as an individual to become a member of World One Parks. Remember that in this small time that we'll have with you, I will be able to present to you what World One Park is, the benefits, the committees, and how we work, a little bit about the platform and how you can get connected with professionals around the world. And in the last bit, we'll have an amazing webinar from the Asia Pacific region. So you cannot miss it. Again, thank you for being here and feel free to share this to your network and to friends and colleagues so they can also join. Remember that this is free to the public and you'll be able to join all the webinars. Everything is also live stream and uploaded to the member platform. So if you want to watch the webinar afterwards, or if you want to look for a resource or anything in particular, you can do it in a platform. So let's go ahead and start. And again, thank you for being here in our last webinar for this World of One Parks member marathon. So I'm gonna start sharing a little bit about what World of One Park is. We have a small presentation prepared for you. And remember that if you have any questions or comments, you can leave it on the chat section, or you can also write me to office@worldofoneparks.org in case that you have any particular doubt of how to join, if you're an organization or anything in particular that you need, you can write us in our social media directly to my email, or again, leave it right now in the chat. So, a little bit about the World of One Parks history. We started many years ago, and before being called World of One Parks, it was the IFPRA, which was the International Federation. And after that, we became Parks for Life, a Green Spaces Alliance. Then this continued to be World of One Parks, which is the great organization that we are today with members from all around the globe. Our mission basically is to promote and support everything that is done in our urban spaces and our urban parks and how we can contribute with that international perspective. Our board is completed with people from around the globe, and we have different professionals. We have architects, we have urban planners, we have consultants, and we have people from the States, from Canada, from Japan, from Australia, and many other countries. That way we ensure that we have a global perspective if anything that the World of One Park does. And of course, everything is led by regions. We have a region for North America, which represents Canada and the United States. We have a region for Latin America, for Europe, Africa, and Asia Pacific. Our Asia Pacific region has two co-chairs, which Nella, which that is one of the co-chairs, will be giving the amazing webinar for today. You can, of course, join these committees, so if you want to interact with professionals from your same region, if you want to have meetings with them, and if you want to share different resources and tools with people from around your area, you can do so. And we, of course, also have portfolios that lead all the initiatives that are done inside the World One Parks. For example, the Congress, the governance, so we can ensure transparency in everything that we do, advocacy, and alliance. And we also have topic specific committees and other programs. So you can join these. They are complied by different professionals. We have a cemeteries committee, the aging and well-being, healthy parks, healthy cities, climate change, large parks, and children play and nature. Again, if you want to join any of these committees, you can do so, and that way you can still be engaged and actively participate in everything that they do. They try to have, I think, monthly meetings where they can talk and still be updated with everything that is done across these different topics. And of course, we have different programs like the Emerging Urban Leaders, the awards. If you want to recognize a project that you're doing or that in your city is being done, you can do it with the World One Parks Awards. We currently have a program called Architecture, which is a design contest And then we have the academy and some others. This is open for all our members. You can join one or more than one, so you can be engaged with everything that is done in globally around the world. And we have a lot of resources for our members. We have a weekly podcast. Currently, we have 2 seasons and we're working on our third one. They are weekly. Every Wednesday, you'll be able to hear a different episode where we have a speaker or where we talk about a specific topic. So they're really interesting if you want to join. And you can find them in our website or on Spotify, Amazon Podcasts, or another streaming platform for podcasts. We also have a blog that we daily update where you can find different articles, resources, events that we're doing from World One Parks, but also that other organizations are doing. And this is also open for members. So if you're a member of World One Parks and you want to send an article so you can share it, you can do so. We have a monthly webinar. We have a digital library that has more than 500 document research articles, studies, and they are in different formats. You can find videos, you can find PDFs or slides. And here in the digital library we also upload everything that happens in our congresses. So if you were not able to join a World One Park Congress, you can find information there. Or if you went to the Congress but you want to check a specific session that you were not able to attend, you can do it here. So the digital library, you can find anything, and it's divided in different areas. So we'll be able to explore this in a bit. And we also have the directory in your professional profile. Of course, we also have different events like regional events where we have an alliance with an organization from that specific region. And then we have our annual conference, which is the World Urban Parks Congress. This year was in Adelaide, Australia, and last year was in Mexico. We currently have opened the call for proposals for our next annual conference, which will be in Utrecht, Netherlands. If you want to be a speaker, if you want to participate, please go ahead and check all the information. You definitely cannot miss it. It's a way and an opportunity for all us to interact and to get to know everything that is being done out there. And then every April we have the Parks Week, which is an event, an online event where we try to promote everything that is happening in different urban parks. So you can join and create different activities for this specific program. Here is our contact information. So if you want to reach out to our CEO, Luis Roman, or to myself, you can do it here. Again, you can collaborate in most of the parts of World One Parks with an article, with a project, a podcast, or a webinar. And if you have any questions from the membership, please go ahead and tell us. But also, if you don't want to believe me, I'm going to show you a little bit video with people that are members and that they're going to tell you why you need to become a member of Waltman Parks. Let's go ahead with the video.
Well, first of all, it's a fantastic initiative.
In a short period of time, it has become a very important institution.
And it's working to ensure that we can provide, protect, and care for parks.
And you realize the importance of sharing the information, of sharing all the knowledge of parks.
Learning about what other countries do.
An organization that brings together people with the same kind of work, the same kind of ideas.
Yo no conocía otras instancias de intercambio entre profesionales de todo el mundo.
It has been about exploration and exchange and connection.
And it creates a really fantastic network.
An organization that gathers together and reflects on how to manage, finance, design and program parks.
And impacting various communities around the globe.
It's more important than ever to exchange our knowledge and experience with each other.
It's an amazing organization, you know.
A global voice for all urban parks and communities.
Brings the focus back on parks and public space.
And World Urban Parks brings these people together.
We need more countries in Africa to join World Urban Parks.
And we do that in every country, in every culture.
connecting park professionals around the world
to share knowledge from one country to the other.
It's an incredible place for us to come together and really share ideas.
And providing a platform for park professionals.
An amazing platform to connect with people, to exchange resources, to exchange documents, to exchange expertise.
Which is our website and a whole lot of member resources.
Working through committees.
By being that voice.
We can share our work.
Because they're trying to weave this community of park specialists.
You know, you have a lot of great organizations that are doing a lot of great things when it comes to parks and recreation.
I encourage you to talk to the organisations that you're part of.
Support mechanism for the national organisations.
Pues es una labor especial que necesitamos las distintas organizaciones de los países.
Parks works at the intersection of public spaces, nature and placemaking. And we can think together on how to make our public spaces and our urban parks even more welcoming.
Just seeing different countries come together.
Es una labor fundamental para que nos podamos encontrar.
And it's so important for us as park professionals throughout the entire world to come together.
This is an organization that is much needed now and into the future.
I salute the organization for everything that they've been doing.
I would encourage everyone to get involved in World Urban Parks.
I love World Urban Parks.
So let's come together. Please join World Urban Parks.
So again, you didn't only hear it from me, you heard it from them. So you cannot miss any more time. You need to join World One Parks and be connected with everything that is happening globally. And right now I want to show you a little bit more of the tangible side of the membership, which is the member platform. So I'm going to go ahead and share my screen so you can see the platform. So right now I'm logged in. I'm gonna log out for a second so you can see everything as a non-member perspective. So here you can see all the updates and all the resources that we have. And here on the top right corner, you can log in. If you're a new subscriber and you're still not part of the World One Parks community, you can choose this option, new subscriber. You fill out this information and afterwards you'll get an email so we can verify it and you can join the community. So I'm going to log in and I'm going to show you a little bit about everything that the member has. Of course, here we have general information about World One Parks. Here you can also find the different programs that we have. So if you want to participate and get engaged with them, you can do so. Again, this awards program is an excellent way to recognize what your team is doing, what your city or organization is doing. And we have for parks, but also for individuals. And here in the resources, we have where I'm going to start with news. The World One Park News is a section that gets updated weekly, where you can find different research, articles, or studies that are doing and that are top tendencies in the sector. So you can find them here and be updated with everything that is happening. We also have the blog, where we upload everything that the World Urban Parks is doing, and of course, other organizations like their webinars, their resources. We also want to be a platform for other organizations so we can create an alliance for the sector. We also have in the resources section discussions posts, and here if you can have an open dialogue with other members. You can start a new thread and post a question or share a document if you believe that that could be interesting for other people. So it's a good way to be connected and to actively engage. And then, of course, we have the digital library. Here, as you can see on the left section, you can find the different topics like design, planning, education, environment. And here you can find all the information. You can see, like I said, documents or slides, videos, and you can find here almost anything that you're looking for. Then we're creating a glossary. So if you have any definitions, if you have a document that you would like to add here, we can also do so. We have the podcast section. Like I said, we have a weekly episode, so you can listen directly from here or from your preferred platform. And if we go back in the same resources sections, we have the directory. This is really interesting because if you're looking for someone that it's, let's say, Australia or Mexico, you can do it directly from here, and you can even look from the interest areas. So, for example, if I choose, let's say, Australia, and I choose the option find members, I'll be able to connect with all of these people that are from Australia. So if you're looking for a specific project or something that is done in a specific country or region, you can do it from here. And like I said, you can also do it from an interest area. So if you want someone from, let's say, biodiversity, and let's take this out, and here you can see everyone that is interested in biodiversity. So it's a really good tool to be connecting with people that you don't necessarily know. And the more information you have on your professional profile, more easily would be for people to find you. And then here in communities, I'm going to go ahead and choose my communities. And here you can have different ways of also having discussions and having different libraries for a specific thing. So if I go to, for example, the open forum, which is where all of the World Women Park members are part of, you can see here me posting, for example, about the member marathon, or letting you know that all of the content of the Congress is already available. We have other members sharing resources, sharing questions, and posting different documents. So it's also a very important tool. And then I'm gonna go here to member home, which I like to say this is like the LinkedIn for park professionals. So you can have your timeline and see all the recent discussions, the most recent documents that have been sharing, and some other quick links that you can check here. And lastly, it's very important for you to know this section, the profile. As I said, as more information you have added here, more easily will be for other people to find you. So here you can put a little bit more about yourself, your education, um, the regions that you're part of, your job history, and everything. So it's very important for you to, as soon as you register, to put all your information here so you can connect with other people and we have more information. That way, if we want to share a specific event that is happening that could be of your interest, we can send it to you. And lastly, I want to show you the membership page. Here you can find all of the information about the benefits, what we have, all of the prices, and the different member options that we have for you. And if you're an organization, the important thing is that everything is based on your budget. So if you're a big organization or a small, a nonprofit, we have different memberships available for you. You can check all the prices here, and also, the very positive thing is that if you have an organizational membership, as many as colleagues as you know and you want, they can join this membership. That way, you don't have to pay an extra fee for all of your team members. They can join the same organizational membership, and everyone can have the benefits of the World One Perks membership. And if you have any other questions, we have our membership policy fee available here. But again, you can send us an email or write us in the chat. So if you have any questions, we can go ahead and help you with those. So you cannot miss this amazing platform. We have a lot of resources for you, and you should be able to join and to find a lot of things that will help you in your daily tasks. Before going to the webinar, we have here with us our speaker, Nella Lomotan, but we also have Mark Bowater. They are both co-chairs of the Asia Pacific region. So I want you to hear a little bit from them why you should join World One Parks, but also why you should join the committee and help them with everything that the region is doing. Mark and Nella, welcome. Thank you for being here.
Thank you, Victoria.
Thank you. Always an honor to be here, and of course with Mark, who has served World Urban Parks for such a long time. So, Mark, please do the introductory message.
I'm based in Auckland, New Zealand, so I'd like to just greet you in Te Reo Māori. Tēnā koutou katoa, no mai haere mai, whakatau mai. I ngā mana, i ngā reo, i ngā karangaranga maha. Yes, welcome everybody. Victoria has given a really good overview of the updated and revised platform for World Urban Parks. It's got an amazing amount of content and functionality now, which is increasingly useful. In the Asia Pacific region, Nella and I co-chair a regional committee, and we're very keen to grow membership of that committee. We currently have members based in New Zealand, Australia, the Philippines, Japan. We're in discussion in Malaysia, in discussion with members from Singapore and Mongolia. But we're very keen to grow that regional membership and representation so that we can advance the cause for urban parks in this part of the world.
Right. Thanks, Mark. And I'm Nella Lomotan from the Philippines. As Mark has shared, we are co-chairing for the Asia Pacific Committee. And all I can say is ever since I joined World Urban Parks, which was recently in 2021, initially as part of the Emerging Urban Leaders cohort, it has really been it has really been, in terms of network building and capacity building, it has really helped me a lot, especially because I come from a country where the parks movement is still progressing and there's still a lot of development that can be made. So the mentorship, the guidance, access to resources and knowledge that the World Urban Parks has given me and has given me access to has really been great. And that's why we really encourage everyone looking into more knowledge, mentorship, network building to join World Urban Parks. You will not regret it.
Thank you, Nela. Thank you, Mark. Is there anything that you would like to add, or can we go to the webinar? I think people are eager to also hear everything that you have to share with us.
Yeah, I think
Happy
we're
to
good.
proceed.
Perfect. Well, thank you, Mark, for also joining the call. As you said, this is about building community and having representation from as many countries as we have. So if you're from the Asia Pacific region, don't hesitate and join the regional committee so you can be part of the discussions and everything that is happening out there. Again, thank you, Mark and Ella, for being here with us.
Thank you.
And well, let's go ahead and start with the webinar. So I'm going to leave you with Nella, which has an excellent presentation prepared for us. Nella, again, thank you for being here with us and for being willing to share all of your knowledge with us. Okay. Go ahead.
Thank you, Victoria. Okay, so let me do the presentation. Not sure. I hope I don't disappoint when Victoria said it was excellent, but I'm just here to share the experience that I have in our project with the national government. Okay, so again, good morning, good afternoon, good evening, wherever you are in the world. I'm from the Philippines, but I'm currently in New York City because I was studying here and still continue also to pursue studies primarily on urban parks, leadership, and sustainability. So I was invited here today as the managing director of Philippine Parks and Biodiversity and the co-chair of World Urban Parks Asia Pacific together with Mark to talk about influencing government for investments in parks and recreation. So I'm not going to be talking about activism here or anything like that, but this is more about our work with national government through my organization, which is the Philippine Parks and Biodiversity. So, but before I get into that specific topic, I'd like to share a little bit more about why this is so important, not just to the Philippines and to the citizens of the Philippines, but also to me. Why I am very, very eager and passionate to work on this cause. So, just to give some context, and I won't really be delving into this too much, but I grew up in the capital city of Metro Manila. So it's the densest city in the Philippines and also where the largest population can be found. So this is the map of Metro Manila, and primarily it maps out the green spaces of Metro Manila. And as per a recent, Department of Environment Resources and Natural Resources report, only 12% of the land area of Metro Manila is considered as green space, and majority of them are not public spaces. So I will just give you an example. I don't know if you can see my pointer, but majority of these green spaces are within residential villages, golf courses. They're not really public parks where anyone can just enter, have access to the park, and use it for recreation or whatnot. So majority of these you actually have to go through, as I said, like a residential village. You need permission to have access to it. And it's really, growing up in Metro Manila, that was really one of the, I would say, unfortunate and saddening experiences for me, because I love nature. I love being surrounded by green space. I'm not here to talk about the benefits of green spaces, because I'm sure a lot of the audience here already knows about that, but it's really more about Metro Manila and the different urban cities across the Philippines, which suffers from this challenge. And it's really, of course, the COVID pandemic also highlighted the need for more green spaces and public parks for the citizens. And so, this is very personal to me, because I dream of a future where, my kids, I mean, I don't know if I'm going to be living in Metro Manila, but my advocacy is for Metro Manila and urban cities in the Philippines. But, I really dream for more citizens to have access to green spaces. Being here in New York City, I could also see the difference where, I could go to a park just nearby and be treated to the woodland, have access to an urban forest. And even when I visited New Zealand, where Mark is from, I had access to parks in Auckland. And so that was really something that was inspirational for me. And I knew that we could learn from our international counterparts as well. And which is why I'm very thankful to the World Urban Parks for, giving me this opportunity to be part of the World Urban Parks network. So basically, that's Metro Manila Green Spaces. And even in 2018, the World Health Organization reported that Metro Manila had the third highest number of deaths due to air pollution related causes. I don't know if you guys have been there, but like in terms of infrastructure and development, like it's really often called even like the mall capital, because it's really like large malls, one after another, all of these concrete buildings, big developments for malls, and all of these concrete developments. So as I said, as I showed earlier in the map, the green space is very sparse. And so, you know for me, my organization, ever since, it was like, how can we influence local government units to prioritize parks and green spaces by allocating proper resource allocation and integrating outcomes into every city's seal of good governance. And it has been acknowledged that we really need a national framework, to really drive the costs for park development and for really investing resources into this. So I have been very grateful and humbled and honored to, through my organization, to have been appointed to co-lead the development of this project, which I'll be talking later on, with the National Department of Health. And it will be an interagency collaboration, of course, to really strengthen the movement. But this is actually part of the Healthy Filipinas, or Healthy Philippines campaign, where we are really driving the cause for a healthy communities around the Philippines. And one of the key components of a healthy community is that it has access to open public spaces and infrastructures that promote active mobility, physical activity, and leisure. So, as I mentioned, so I'm not talking in behalf of the government, but I'm talking in behalf of the Philippine Parks and Biodiversity and our partnership with the national government on the Open Green Spaces National Project, which I had the humbling opportunity to co-lead the development of this project the past 2 years, and we are soon going to be piloting this across different cities in the Philippines and capacitating local government units for this project. So basically, the project, it aimed to guide local government units in the Philippines in establishing and managing land spaces designated or to be designated as parks and intended for physical activity, leisure, and recreational use by the public. So it was very timely as well, because I really wanted, and it's not just me, but different citizens all over Metro Manila really have been having this clamor to really push for park development, prioritizing green space. And it was timely that after the COVID pandemic, most especially, that the national government also really realized the need for that, and that we were chosen as the one to lead this project together with them. And so the influence in the government is it was and it will happen through this Open Green Spaces National Project, which we already launched just recently as well. So I'm going to be talking more about this and what we did in order to really shape and influence how the park development will be done, and the movement will be championed all over the Philippines. And it's a very monumental task, but it's something that is really very exciting for us because as I said, we are still not there in terms of, I mean, our international counterparts. There's a lot of work to be done, but it's something that we must really start already if we are to see progress and if we want to shape and change how things are being done in the Philippines. So going back, it was really, when we talk about the root cause of the problem, it's really also not having a national framework that ties everything together, that really capacitates and empowers our local government units. Of course, there's so much more factors, but that was really, when during our discussions, is what we really needed was for this to be really a national approach, but localized as well by the different local government units. So basically, the Open Green Spaces National Project, just to outline it, we created an implementation framework to develop an open space master plan per local government unit across the Philippines, ensuring open space projects contribute to a better quality of life for people and the environment. And we also had created a template ordinance, which is a policy to institutionalize the plans of local implementers for open spaces, and to actually establish an open space committee per city, per municipality, to oversee these plans. Third is the capacity building for local government units, which we are to do in the next year, which we are to be creating all of these capacity development workshops and sessions for 2 pilot cities and other cities to follow suit, where we identify opportunities for open public space utilization and urban park development, and to understand how to develop and implement a master plan for parks. And of course, we had to integrate monitoring and evaluation forms and other measures to track the progress of local implementers in establishing healthy public open spaces. So when we were doing this, even I really was thinking that, okay, we have this great opportunity to steer the direction, what an urban park should be. How do we make it also a sustainable development, integrating ecological factors, social well-being, community, right? It's not just about like creating a park, but also thinking about all the different facets and the different components. So one of the key outputs of this, which we worked on for 2 years, which was the development of a playbook. It's about almost 100 pages, but obviously, like for us, a playbook is a playbook, but it's really in the implementation. And this is why we are to do the capacity building for local government units, which are actually the leaders of the cities, in how to really implement what's in this playbook. So basically, the playbook guides local governments in the planning, development, and maintenance of their own spaces and parks. by establishing an implementation framework which covers the following. So there's governance and policy. What are the different governance structures that these parks should have, and also what is the policy that can be implemented by these leaders, and rolled out across the board, to really ensure effective implementation, monitoring, and maintenance. There's capacity development included in this playbook, master plan development. So we will actually be teaching them how to create master plans for parks. Community engagement, several ways on how they can engage their communities, so it has also a communications framework for cities. Resource requirements needed, so this is where the budgeting, what does it take to create a park actually, what do you need, so that really, when we talk about it, that's really more just about, it's more than just like the capital investments into the capital infrastructures, right? But also like maintenance, your staff, and everything else, and monitoring and maintenance. So basically, the playbook is basically a guide for all cities around the Philippines, that they will be using as a guide so that they could implement and really pave the way for the park's development where they are. And so this really took a lot of work because it was 2 years. It was with with the Department of Health, the Health Promotion Bureau, the Move as One Coalition, who also helped in the creation of the safe public roads and also the bikeways in bike paths for the Philippines, and together with us. And so we really took the time to establish all of the different systems, how do we want to really, direct cities all over the Philippines. And so this is distributed about to 1,200 local government units. And as I mentioned, we are piloting it with 2 key cities in the Philippines. So just to share, like what these are just some of the things that we had to do, because of course, number one is for working with cities, then we had to create a template policy, and this will be for all cities, around the Philippines. So basically, it really talks about the creation, use, and maintenance of healthy open spaces in communities and other health and environment initiatives. So we expect the cities to roll out these ordinances across their own municipalities and wherever they are present. And then this is also one of the key components of the Healthy Open Spaces project, is that, and this was also presented by our colleagues from the Department of Health during the recent Philippine Parks Congress, is that we are institutionalizing the Healthy Public Open Spaces Committee per local government unit. So example, for Baguio City, who you're working with, and the other city, Quezon, then they will be creating a Healthy Public Open Spaces Committee. And this will actually be really represented by different stakeholders, because we really want that this is not, we really want all the different stakeholders to be involved in this, so you have a representative from the Culture Affairs and Tourism Office, the Solid Waste Management Office, the Environment and Natural Resources Office, Provincial City Planning and Development Office, the local chief executive or deputy, the engineer, legal officer, provincial city transportation development and management office, provincial city health office, provincial city engineering office. So every city must have a healthy public open spaces committee that will really be in charge of implementing the master plan frameworks for all of these cities. But of course, this will also be in coordination with other consultants that the cities will be working with. Of course, you still have your landscape architects, and all of that we'll need to work with, but this will be the institutionalized committee within every city that will really drive this movement. And so we are very happy to pilot this with 2 cities in the next year. So this is just for reference, the implementation plan that I talked about earlier. And basically, this summarizes what's in that playbook that people can expect. The people can expect us to teach them for the capacity building session. So you might be wondering, wow, you're doing like this to to capacitate our local government units. But I know that it's quite a lot of work for us as an organization, but this is hand in hand with the national government. So it's being trickled down. And for us, because we're still, they call us a developing country, right? And there's still really so much more that needs to be done. And we really believe that it's in capacity building that we need to address first, so that we could really see the change in terms of creating the investments and the leadership to really embody the desire to join us in this movement for urban parks and green spaces in the Philippines. So as I mentioned earlier, we will also be piloting this framework with 2 initial pilot cities actually already next year. So the local government of Baguio City and Quezon Province. So they've specifically chosen. So this picture that you see is one of the parks of Baguio City, and it's a really well-known park across the Philippines. One of the most well-known parks in the Philippines, Burnham Park. But they have chosen one underdeveloped green space, and basically it will be utilized for another park, and that will be our pilot site. And we will implement our framework with them and roll out the policy that we created earlier for other cities to follow suit. And what are we doing here is by having a proof of concept of our implementation framework and using 2 cities as model sites. We hope this can serve as an inspiration for other local governments to follow suit. So I really can't share the plans of what will take place, but it will be our proof of concept, that from this playbook, from our implementation framework, from all of these different elements of how to do communications, how do you do community engagement, monitoring and maintenance, and the master planning also for the park, all of this hopefully will be the tangible output, and proof of concept will be the different pilot sites, these 2 pilot sites that we will be working with in the next 2 years. And also at the same time, it was announced by our colleagues from the national government that they will also, because we've been talking about it, how can we influence the government to really include it in their seal of good governance, and so that they're actually encouraged also to really work for it. So it was announced recently in the Philippine Parks Congress that they would actually incentivize cities. I believe that the full details are still being finalized, but they will be incentivizing cities who will be actually piloting also the framework that we created and the playbook within their cities. And it will be like it's not really a contest, but more of like a challenge where, hopefully we get to see more of these cities being awarded, recognized year on year, for having for championing this movement, and it will be integrated into the seal of good governance. So that was something that we have been pushing for ever since, and we are really happy that the government is really listening to that as well, and that they will actually even be monetarily incentivizing the different local government units to be able to follow suit in this. Of course, there's also, so I mean, this just going back, there's still a lot of work that will be done, but I just wanted to share, the next steps from just like the playbook to actually working with 2 key cities, doing our capacity development workshops with them, and really working on 2 pilot sites for this implementation. And we're really, really excited for this, despite like the amount of groundwork that we know needs to be done, but we're happy to have a proof of concept. And obviously, of course, part of influencing government. So Mark was recently part of this, but our organization was co-presented the second Philippine Parks Congress. So again, it's fairly new. So last year was the first one, and this year is the second one. And this really was an opportunity for us as well to talk about not just World Urban Parks, but this project, and to influence leaders all over the Philippines who joined the Philippine Parks Congress, and to stir up the discussions, really really challenge somewhat these leaders into thinking about, how are they creating the vision for their cities. Are we creating accessible, equitable, sustainable green spaces and private parks for our citizens? So these discussions are really needed to be made, and as an organization we capitalize on these opportunities where we could really influence the leaders of the Philippines. And so we're really excited for this Healthy Open Spaces project, which will be distributed across all the, as I mentioned, almost 1,200 local government units of the Philippines, and working with 2 pilot sites. And hopefully through there, we could really influence through what we're going to be able to do together with them. As an organization, we could influence and shape the way that the parks movement is taking action. Jumping off on in the Philippines, and the how we see the development for that. So basically, that's that. I hope that I was able to share with you more about how we're influencing government as an organization, and hope that you also learned a bit from that presentation. So thank you.
Ella, that was amazing. Congratulations on all of these great initiatives that you're leading, that I know that it has been a challenge. So we have a few minutes for some questions and comments. Here we have one from Dave, that he would like to hear more about the community engagement involved on the development of this initiative. Maybe at this stage, how you're being able to involve the community, but also afterwards, what's your vision for the community involvement?
Yeah. So actually, Dave, thank you for raising that. That is one of the key components of the master plan framework, the playbook. Since I mentioned that we are going to be developing these pilot sites, but before we actually even implement those, it's very important because this was not being done before, and we really encourage government. We need to hear from our constituents. What kind of park do you want, for that local community? So this is something that I see, like a lot of cities and different like even mark, like community consultations. It wasn't being done in the Philippines. What would happen was they would just roll out, this is your park, and people would be like, what is this? Like, why is there so much concrete? You didn't even ask us. And so that's one of the things that I raised specifically when I was co-leading this with them, is that we need to introduce in our master plan framework and in that playbook, community consultations, really hearing from the citizens where we are developing. So we actually introduce all of these mechanisms in that master plan framework, where we would be hearing from the local communities themselves, having all of these different sessions to integrate them into the decision making of these and into the development of the pilot sites, hearing their inputs, what they want to see. Of course, it's not that we will give everything that they want, right? But it's always important that we're engaging the community. Especially some areas are also, there are still indigenous people, such as in New Zealand, right? And so it's important that we always integrate, the community participation. So before we're going to be rolling out any of our plans in these pilot sites, we're making sure that we're hearing from the community. And there will still be more community engagement activities after that. Like example, for here in New York City, it's so huge to have things such as Friends of Prospect Park, and we have like different volunteers helping with the maintenance of Prospect Park, you know, and really caring for the area. And so these are, I mean, those are after already. But we're talking about like before the development of these plans with the pilot sites. Then that's the kind of community engagement that we see.
I think what you just mentioned, Ella, is very important, to be able to give that voice to the people, because at the end, they are the ones that use this space, so they can actually appropriate of everything that is happening, the activities, the infrastructure that is in place, but also so they can understand also a little bit more about their context and the community, so they can actually be able to have this dialogue and to have a different perspective. So
Yeah,
like you said, it's very important to actually engage with them. I have
definitely.
here another question. What have been the main challenges when getting the city to support this initiative or working with them so people can have a little bit more of your ideas, but also to create alliances with other organizations from the city that would be joining this initiative?
So as I mentioned, so we just recently launched this with the national government, and we haven't had any challenges so far because there are only two identified key cities. It went through a rigorous selection process. There were actually some metrics that we had to check for us to award, because funds will be downloaded actually to these two pilot cities. And so, because example, Baguio City, they're one of the cities which already has a lot of like green space that they've designated. And so they were actually chosen. But in terms of, like the other cities, because there's still so much, we're only talking about two pilot cities. One of the main challenges, across the board that we really saw was the lack of, I mean, I don't want to say lack of knowledge, but in terms of the leadership, I guess a lot of people could agree to this, that it really needs to be driven by the leadership. Like the mayor, for us, it's like it has to be driven by the mayor of that city to really say, okay, we're investing in parks and public spaces, really integrating budgets and resources into that. And that's the reason why we created this national framework that can be localized, and also, as mentioned, like the national government is doing all of these incentives, actually including in the city seal of good governance the creation of public parks, which is new after this project. So hopefully we'll see more, but it was really one of the challenges is the leadership, the lack of direction from the leadership to invest in parks and public spaces. That was ever since like one of the main challenges. Instead of utilizing an open space for park development, they would build malls, as I said, right? And other buildings, lease it out for commercial developments, where there would be lots of just restaurants and things like that. But of course, there's another way to go about it, right? So, yeah.
Yes, I think what you said is key to for those decision makers to make it a priority in their agendas. We need for that decision to be made by them, so then it can be a priority and it can be part of the plan of
Right,
the city or that specific community. That way,
right.
as you said, they are prioritizing building parks or maintaining the ones that are already there,
Yeah.
so you can continue this.
Yeah. And that's why we're working with the leaders, I mean, the key decision makers for these two pilot sites, right? And hopefully, because, we see this happening in the Philippines where, of course, it's also the bragging rights for a city, right? So once our two pilot sites show what we've done and they were awarded these funds because, they're already leading the way, then, it's just a matter of time. That's how we see it. Like more cities will be like, oh, I also want to be acknowledged for being the city who's leading the way for parks. And that's really something that we see in the Philippines, the domino effect. And that's something that we want to be able to really see through this project.
Yes, we need one brave person or city to start. So after that, as you mentioned, the domino effect and other cities can want that recognition that also has benefits for the community.
Hopefully. But so yeah, so hopefully those two pilot cities will really pave the way and will really inspire cities, and we will highly utilize all our communication channels to promote the cause.
Yes. And the other question that I have for you is what would be your advice for other cities or other professionals like you that want to implement these kind of initiatives with their maybe municipal governments or national governments in their cities or communities?
Was the question asked by someone from the civil society organization like me?
It was asked by World to One Parks.
Okay, I guess I'm only speaking in behalf of like me as a civil society organization member, but as an organization we really spoke about the cause. We were out there talking about the importance of urban parks and green space, and that's how we were recognized actually by the national government. We were really making strides as an organization, hosting all of these um talk sessions, engaging communities to talk about the importance of green spaces and urban parks, especially after the COVID. And no one was really focusing on this in the Philippines. It was really just our organization that was really focusing on the importance and highlighting like parks, urban parks specifically. And I think that's one of the reasons why they reached out to me personally and our organization, because we were the only one really, really talking about it, advocating for it. And that's why we were awarded this project by the national government. So I would say, like, you really need to communicate your cause through different channels, utilize your networks, really speak about it. And that's where it starts.
Thank you, Nell. I think that's very important to promote the benefits of everything that we're working on the sector. And also, I would add to create alliances with other organizations, because
Yes,
if you can find others that are similar to your cause.
exactly. Like we've always believed in collaboration. So example, when we were doing all of these like in community engagement and communication strategies, we were always collaborating with different organizations who we knew that also supported the cause, different resource speakers, experts from government, from civil society organizations, from international, like I believe that Neil, the CEO before of World Urban Parks, was one of our speakers, right? So I actually invited him to speak for one of our Philippine sessions, and that's how we met, and that's how I started to become part of World Urban Parks, which is great. Yeah.
Yeah, you never know what kind of network and what kind of connections you can do. So it's always good to have this spirit of collaboration. The more the merrier, where we're trying to promote something like urban parks and public spaces. So it's good to also create these type of alliances.
Exactly. So go and get out there, talk about your cause, but network as much. You cannot be shy. Like for what I'm gonna say is like sometimes I feel like a kid, but doing like big projects. Like wow, I'm working with the national government and influencing like all the cities in the Philippines. Like that's kind of crazy if you think about it, right? But like you just really need to advocate for it and utilize and expand your network as much as possible.
And what better thing to do than advocate for parks and public spaces? As you just said, you're doing an amazing job, and it's a really good opportunity that you're being able to create this direct line of communication with the national government. So Nella, thank you so much for being here with us for our member marathon. And before we close this session, I want to be able to for you to hear a little bit about Jane. She's our chair and she was able to join for our session today. So maybe we can put her on the screen so she can share a little bit about the benefits of joining World One Parks and why you cannot miss this opportunity.
Can you hear me?
Hi,
There
Jane.
you go, Jane.
Hi. Hi, Nella and Victoria. Thank you for doing this session. Victoria, thanks for doing so many today. Yeah, being a part of World Urban Parks has been, I will speak from my own personal professional experience. It's been really invaluable for me. I've made incredible connections with Nella and Victoria, are two examples from people all over the globe who are either professionals in our field, advancing parks, recreation, open space preservation in different parts of the globe, or even advocates who may not be professionals, but are real advocates for this work. And so it's not been uncommon that I've actually reached out to people who have become friends and colleagues because I need to find out what they're doing. I know that they're doing a particular project or initiative, and it's really helpful for me, the work that I'm doing here locally in my part of the globe. Also, I would also say that speaking as an American as well, we often think that we do it better than everybody else. And I will tell you that part of what I have really learned and am so appreciative is what other parts of the globe are doing in this work that is even far exceeds what we do in the US. And I will also speak in particular to parts of the globe that don't have the resources, the history, the professionals that we have in the US doing this. I am utterly amazed at what gets done in other parts of the globe with people who, because they are so passionate about this work and understand how important it is, what they are able to do without the resources that I have at my disposal every day. So it's really quite inspiring and inspirational. And, you know, the friendships and the relationships that I've been able to establish personally and professionally, and to learn and watch from what other people doing is absolutely incredible.
Thank you, Jane. What an honor to be able to close our World of Parks member marathon and having here our chair, Jane and Nella, to be able to listen from her why you need to be part of this community. Is all about building community, building a dialogue, and as we were saying, advocating for urban parks and public spaces. Remember that if you join the membership for World of Parks as part of our member marathon, you'll have a 15% off from your membership. And for emerging countries, we have 50% off plus that 15%. So please go ahead and join. If you have any questions, don't forget to reach out and we'll be able to help you. Again, thank you for being here. And this is our last webinar, our last session with you for 2023. So thank you for being part of this community. We hope to see you next year. Happy holidays and have a great day.
Thanks, everyone. Please join.